launch my computer. Well, hello, friends. I hope you are all super amazing. I'm here today with the incredible Amanda. How are you going, Amanda?
I am so good, my love. I always love chatting to you. It's so good to chat so many, different topics today, and I'm excited about today's topic. But first, I have to tell you, I went and saw Anne Juliet on the weekend. Oh my god, I was so lucky. I got tickets to the premiere. God, it was incredible. Have you seen it?
No, I was so jealous of you actually. I really wanted to be there, and you know that. I have not seen. I've got tickets twice to it because I'm so excited about it. I think you're the one who told me about it in the first place. I didn't even know it was a thing, but it looks epic. Tell me about it.
So good. Like I'm actually going again on the weekend because I'm taking Gigi for her birthday, so I'm going twice in the week.
Yeah.
But oh my god, like it is so good. I think because it's different, right? Like obviously the music's
Yes.
fun and party vibe, but I love that you don't know the whole story. I love that you don't actually know how it's going to end, rather than when you go to more like classic musicals. Like obviously we all know the story before we go. It's still enjoyable, but we know the storyline. It was
Yeah.
fun to something different, right?
Yeah, it looks so good. I'm so excited. I've listened to some of the music from it and it is incredible. So, yeah, I'm super, super pumped. I think we're going next weekend.
Oh, really? There you
Yeah.
go. How that's soon. So exciting. Oh my gosh, I just love it. Look, we're both a bit musical theatre junkies and love going to
Yep.
see any of the shows. And oh my God,
Absolutely.
so much fun. So much fun. But that is not why we're here to talk about today. Just always a side interesting thing, just, what I did on my weekend. But
Of course. We're going to chat about that stuff. Look, I think today's topic is very interesting. And Amanda, you may or may not know this, but Amanda and I have our calendars together and Zoom accounts and all the things because we work together all the time. So we need to schedule things in. But I know your girls' times at dancing. Like I know Sassy today has ballet and troop, and I know all the things. So I don't know if you realize that that comes up on my little calendar.
I
It's quite
did
hilarious.
not know that. I did not know that. That is interesting. I did not realize that all sunk. Sassy is at ballet and troupe right now, so
She
she's just
is.
about finished. If you've checked your calendar,
Anyway, when I saw that, I thought an interesting topic could be what's it like now being a dance mum? Because you used to own the studio, you now don't own the studio, but you are still a dance mum to three
oh yeah,
girls who are very into all the things, obviously, because they've had a mum who's owned the studio. How's that going? Have like tell me all the things. How's it all going?
well, oh my gosh, so many parts to this, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
obviously there's the strange part of not owning the studio, and the strange part of going up and seeing the staff that used to be my staff that are no longer my staff, me just not being able to help myself and pick up the rubbish on the street out the front, or this today I wanted to clean the bathrooms because obviously a child had been in right before me who had made a mess. I'm like, oh, don't have to do that anymore. That's always fun.
Mm,
There's all of that, which is odd, of course. But the dance mum thing is an interesting chat because let's be honest, and I don't know if you do this, Beck, or not, but most studio owners who have their children dancing make the timetables work just a little bit for them so that it works in with their schedule as much as possible, right?
oh, absolutely. I make the whole timetable around baby and have done since she was little because
Yes.
she's at her dad's every second weekend. So we've never had classes for her on a Saturday. And it's only really this year, to be honest, that we've put classes on a Friday night because she has to, because it's ballet night and she's got to do that higher level ballet now. But yeah, I've always done that for sure.
Yeah. And I did too. Like I had to, obviously, of course, as studio owners, we make sure our timetable works for all the parents and, that it's the best. But I also made sure it worked for me as well when
Yes.
I did it, especially with three girls. So I'd have them, like finishing at the same time and stuff like that. So,
Mm,
it's interesting. And obviously, I've got three girls dancing, which most people, like, that's not the norm, I guess. Most people would only ever have like two children, or one would probably be more an average. But I tell you what, three girls dancing, it's a lot. It's a lot because My three girls finish, they all dance 4 nights at least. My eldest dances 5. And they all finish at different times every single night. It's a lot, and we live, it's only about 15 minutes from the studio, but it's enough that it's hard to be doing the different times, I guess. And, there's a lot of driving back and forth, and we don't have people to share lifts with as well, because of where we live and all of that. I do have help with my elder daughter. But yeah, it's a lot, right?
That's crazy. So I'm looking at your timetable now. So
You've got it open.
but just listen to this. Like, I just think sometimes it's really interesting for us to look at it from a different perspective because we don't think about these things. And I think sometimes we forget how crazy parents' lives are. Like, like when that kid gets late to an Eisteddfod and you're like, how dare they get late to the Eisteddfod? And you probably just haven't thought about the fact that the parents got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and the 2-year-old probably had a meltdown before they had to leave. Like, there's so many moving parts in a family's life.
Absolutely.
And I didn't realize that until I, 1, had 5 kids, and 2, like, just had those children. Like, before I had children, I had no idea. Anyway, so Sassy finishes at 5:15 today. Gigi finishes at 6:45. And Zali finishes at 8:15, and it's a half-hour round trip for you to get from studio to back home.
I have to allow about 35 minutes. That's a lot.
If the listeners saw my face right now, it's just a big open mouth going, holy shit, that is a lot. And is that most nights? Is that how it works?
It's every night. Yeah, pretty much every night. And they all start at different times, but their school is out there too. So I pick up from school. I have to be at school pickup just before 3. I usually drop the 3 of them off at the same time, and the older girls just have to wait because I am actually pushed to get there from school for the first class of the afternoon. Or I hang out with the older ones, for an hour or something, and then drop them off a little bit early. We go down the street or whatever. Did you not know I did that?
I mean, I did know that you were there, but I just didn't think about all of the logistics, as you don't. People just don't think about it. And that is crazy dedicated, hey?
Well, it means that I'm basically in my car I have to leave for school, about 2:40 or something, till about 8:30, back and forth, pretty much. But I guess, that's a choice I make, right?
100%,
That's not a problem.
100%.
And
No.
I'm okay with that. That's fine. The actual driving itself doesn't bother me. What I'd love to talk about, though, is the effects that has on my family. Because I think that's the different bit. I actually quite like being the one that drives and Nathan being the one stuck at home with the little people or whatever. That's actually, sometimes it's the easier job to go on the drive for half an hour, right?
Yeah,
Than being at home with the kids or whatever, or cooking dinner or whatever that is. But I think the interesting thing that a lot of studio owners should really, think about is the effect that it has on my family. So obviously my elder daughter, who finishes at 8:15 each night, so she's not home till about, look, their class normally finishes a little bit late as well, so she's not often home till 8:40 or so. So, she's been there straight from school, so she needs to come home, have dinner, do all the things. But I also have a 5-year-old who has some medical issues on top of that. There's a lot going on for her, and it's very late for her to be going to bed. And for us to be up and down and back and forth and in and out of the house, it's hard for her to settle because she knows that we're leaving and coming in and out and doing all the things. It's actually that part that's harder, is working out the family life, I guess.
Yeah, I have the same issues, and I know it is my studio, but BB's obviously older now, so her classes are finishing around the same time, like that 8:30 kind of time. And by the time she gets home and has dinner, and then everyone else, as you said, like Phoenix would never go to bed without
Absolutely
her
not.
going to bed. That is
No,
not going to happen.
Sassy will not do that.
Yeah, same thing. Like our kids are going to bed really late, and it is what it is. But I guess it's just we're not telling everyone to change their timetables.
Oh, absolutely not.
I'm certainly not going to change my timetable, and I understand the constraints of that. But sometimes you just don't realize the moving parts in people's lives, I guess. And we get so cranky about the fact that a child's late for class. Or I think I've told this story before, Amanda, but I got really cranky at a kid last year because they were late for class, and the mum got really angry with me. And when I thought about it and when I found out about that, I realized that it was actually like such a stupid thing for me to get angry about, like just so silly for me to get upset about that, because there were so many moving parts in that mum's life that afternoon. I just hadn't considered it, but I just think
Absolutely.
sometimes
A bit of
we need to
compassion.
remember that. Yeah, yeah, a bit of compassion.
Absolutely. And I think that's a big thing. You know, I'd love to talk about, okay, so the weekend. We had a crazy weekend last weekend. As I mentioned, I went to Anne Juliet on the Friday night. It was Nathan's 40th. It was on Saturday. It was Gigi's ninth birthday. We had a school fete we had to attend, which their school is like a really big deal. And we had Gigi's birthday party.
Oh my
All the
goodness.
things. Okay. So it was a bit of a crazy weekend in our house. Now, Sassy, my 5-year-old, had cheer rehearsals all weekend. And look, I was that parent and I didn't read my note. 100% my fault. Should have read my note. I didn't know it was on until the week before. It had been out for weeks beforehand. So I was that parent whose child basically didn't go to the full, it was 2 full day rehearsals because it was the choreography where they have a choreographer come in and choreograph the whole routine. And I was reflecting on that a little bit as a studio owner. To be honest, like there was no problems with the teacher or the studio owner. They completely understood why we weren't there. It was fine. However, I was reflecting from when I was a studio owner, and I would be pissed if one of the kids said to me, "Hey, it's my sister's birthday party and I have a school fete, so I can't come to rehearsal." I would have been absolutely pissed about that, especially if this was an international choreographer they brought in.
Wow.
And if one of the kids had said that to me, like that's completely like I would have been bitching about them. Like, you know, I would have been okay with them to their face, but with my staff, I would have been like, oh, for God's sake, it's just a kid's birthday party. Do they not understand that this kid isn't going to know the whole routine? Blah, 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 blah. And, you know, that would have always been me. And as I said, the studio was fine about it. That wasn't a drama. However, flipping it and seeing it from a parent's perspective, my 5-year-old who, as I said, has, she's got a strong personality. Sass is a strong personality kind of kid. Sassy has a lot of sass. She had been looking forward to this school fete for so long. She's in kindergarten. The school had been really pushing that it's compulsory. They all have to be there. It's part of their thing. They have to, participate in their class item, that everyone's relying on them, that they must be there. She was also then really excited about her sister's birthday party because that's a big thing in a 5-year-old's life.
Yep.
So when I said to her, hey, you're not going to be able to come, which I did try to the birthday party, you have to go to your cheer rehearsal because you've made a commitment to a team. She just didn't understand. She couldn't comprehend that. And she's like, no, I'll just go before. And then she just couldn't, it was just too much for her. And, I just think, I think sometimes as studio owners, we just see it from our perspective and don't always see it from other people's. I guess that's kind of my point, right? Not that there was any drama, not that you can't have that rehearsal. You got to do what you got to do. It's just hard, right? There's all the juggling parts.
All the juggling parts, and it's completely reasonable on both sides. You can see that the studio owners spent a lot of money. They've done all
Absolutely.
the things. They put the note out early, but you can also see it from the parent side. That's why I thought today's episode was interesting, because it's just flipping things that little bit. I think I flipped my mindset a lot, even just since having more kids come into our family. So, as you know, we're a blended family, and I only have one child out of 5 that dances. And that in itself is hard, because it's obviously she has a lot more on and gets a lot more attention. And if she has stuff on the weekends, it's all about her. Well, now we've got multiple children wanting to do multiple sports, and it's even the juggling of getting them to different places, and it is, life is crazy as a parent. Life is crazy. Hey, how have you found like having to buy costumes and uniforms, and because that's a lot, right? It's
And look,
true.
it
It's a lot.
is. Absolutely. And, we had this week, so all three girls are starting soccer. That's a whole nother thing because I have three
Yeah.
kids playing soccer. Like, I don't know how you do it. You've got five, but I have three kids playing soccer on a Saturday in three different locations starting in like 2 weeks. I'm like, there's only two of us. How on earth do we make that happen?
Exactly.
It's so hard, right? And
Yep.
so we have that. So, this week, for example, we had to buy new competition tracksuits. Cool, no problems. Times three, though, $150 a tracksuit times three.
Yep.
Absolutely fine. I understand it has to happen. But also this week I had to buy soccer boots times three. That
Yep.
was 200 and something dollars. Oh, it was probably closer to 300. I think they were like $90 each. I
Yep.
had to buy what are they called? I don't even know. Their soccer uniform, their shorts, their jersey, their socks, all of that.
Shin pads? Did you have to buy the
Shin
shin
pads.
pads?
I have to buy shin pads. You know what I mean? And all of a sudden this week, and obviously it's not a normal week, but this week I've got $1,000 worth of extras quite easily without even trying. It's probably more. I haven't actually added it up. But, without trying, that's not including the birthday party that one of my kids is going to this week, plus, the birthday party that I paid for last weekend. There's all of those things as parents, right? So, once again, there was no problems with the price of any of those. And that's what I would never suggest to a studio owner, to not charge what you're worth and not to put the profit on by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
However, I think it's important to have compassion around it and making sure you give people enough time to budget for things and
I
giving them
totally
like an
agree.
outline. Yeah.
Yes, I think the time is really important. I think the understanding is really important. And I think also giving them payment options where they can pay it off in different installments. So, I always talk about Shopify with costumes, and we use that. They have this full payment option now where you can pay things off in installments. I think, just making sure that parents have that. We've heard so many horror stories over the years, Amanda, of people who are like putting their costumes out, and then in 2 weeks' time they expect these parents to come up with $3,000 worth of costumes or something like
Yeah.
that. That's crazy, like, and I understand we are the first people to say put profit on things and value
Absolutely.
yourself. We're definitely not saying that, but we are saying be organized enough to give people time and be understanding that more things can come up in their lives.
Absolutely. And different people need to budget for different things. For example, in my scenario, I was actually given about 6 weeks notice for both of those things. I chose to all play it in the same week because obviously I could do that. Like, so that it's not me, complaining about it, but it
No,
is
of
just,
course.
just something to think about when you're putting things out to your parents, because you also don't know about what happened with their child's soccer this week or what their school fees that just happened to be due this week. There's all of those things, or, the dishwasher that broke down, life happens for people. So I think it's about, giving a reasonable amount of time and being upfront about things as well, and offering payment options. I think that's a great point too, Beck.
You know what else makes me laugh? So I'm sure that you got a note, it was on band, it was probably like you probably had multiple communications about that cheer
Oh,
rehearsal,
rehearsal.
but you didn't read
Oops.
it. No, same thing. Like we always get so cranky with parents. We hear it all the time, Amanda, you and I, when we're talking to our clients, and they're like, "Oh, we said this out and this out, and they still didn't read it, and it's just so annoying." But it's like you were a studio owner and you didn't read it.
Absolutely. Like, stuff happens. My 5-year-old came home on Monday, so the rehearsal was Saturday, Sunday. My 5-year-old came home and went, "Mummy, we have cheer on the weekend." I'm like, "No, you don't, babe. There's no competitions this weekend. It's too early in the season. You don't have cheer. You do have it on some weekends. When you start doing your competitions, you'll start doing it on weekends." And I like, And she's like, no, we have it this weekend. We have to go all weekend. It's the whole time. And I'm like, no, you're wrong, Sassy. She was right. She knew what she was talking about.
I feel like my kids do the same. Like, I'm just so bad with notes and stuff. Phoenix came home yesterday and said, we've got the Easter hat parade in a couple of days. And I'm like, oh God, I've got 2 days to make a hat.
All the things. Look, and to be honest, like I know we talk about different with most things, I'm pretty good with notes. Me personally, I'm pretty good with keeping on top of my kids' stuff. But it's just been a crazy couple of weeks with Expo and it slipped through the cracks. So, just the same as, something might happen in your parents' life at the studio. Like, they might be having, something go on. They might be having health issues. They might be having relationship issues. You don't kind of know what's happening in a parent's life. Obviously, we all have those parents that are just hopeless all the time, right? Not knocking that, because we do as studio owners, where there's always those parents that are just like, oh my God, does that mum ever read anything? Does she ever pay anything on time? But I do think sometimes we just need to have some compassion and think about it from the parent's perspective as well.
I think that's the key of today's thing. Like, we've talked about this in a few different realms. Think about the concert from a parent's perspective. Think about extra rehearsals on a Sunday from a parent's perspective. Think about, there's so many different things that we do that we think the parents should just appreciate. They should appreciate that I'm doing that extra rehearsal on a Sunday. Don't they realize that this means the kids are going to be so much better in dance? They don't care.
Absolutely do not care.
Do you care that Sassy's choreographers from the US or international choreographer, and that means that you don't care about that? Like, and you're a studio owner, and I'm sure you don't care.
I don't. And, it's that thing. I know that she would have gone to her class on Monday and all the other kids would have known the routine and she didn't. It's going to be a problem. 100%. She's also the youngest in the team. So I know it's going to be a problem. But you know what? That weekend wasn't about her, and we'd already planned this huge weekend for Nathan and my other daughter's birthday, and like I just couldn't do everything. I can't do every single thing at all times, and so it's just sometimes it is what it is. Like dance can't be everyone's life, as much as we would love it to be, as much as it's our life as studio owners. It's not always going to be everything to every family. And so I think, especially the extra rehearsals, that kills me. The things like comps on like Father's Day or Mother's Day, or, in the holidays even, that affects family holidays. Like I really, that's a big, red flag to me as studio owners. We really need to give a little bit more compassion to family life and how parents balance their child that dances, but also the rest of their family around that.
Yep, I totally agree. It's an interesting way of looking at it, and it's certainly something that I'm always having to self-reflect on at the studio. Is like, it's that whole fans first thing. I know we talked about it, but it's just like, is this an ego decision, or is this the decision that's right for the parents and the families? Because one of our values is family, and most studio owners, you ask them what their values are, and one is always family. Well, what does that actually mean? And are you really valuing family? Because dance can be all life consuming, and that's fine. Like, I get that. But yeah, we just need to really think about that and consider it.
Absolutely. Hopefully some studio owners kind of, had a little bit of perspective from today's, and kind of hearing what it is a little bit like for me as a dance mum. I wouldn't change it for the world. Don't get me wrong. I love being a dance mum. I also don't think as a studio owner that you should ever drastically change anything you do to fit into people's family life. So, I think just to be super clear that that's not at the point of this podcast. You can't please everybody. You can't make everything work as studio owners. But I do think just to give it some thought and reflect on how it makes it work. The concert, I'm just back on that. I know I was wrapping up, but back on the concert, what always made me think as well was what time the students had to be there. Our concert was a good 45 minutes, 50 minutes drive away. What time the kids had to be there and what the parent could do before the doors opened. And I think that's something we kind of need to think about, things like that. Like how, that's at Christmas time when all the parents are running around and got so many things to do. Like really giving things like that some thought, I think, is just really imperative to making sure that, dance is a hobby that your kids, that your students can, keep, and that it doesn't get too like tiresome for the parents and they end up pulling them because it's like, oh my God, dance is taking over my life. I'm out.
Exactly, exactly. It's so important for attention. It's so important for all the things. Well, thank you for that amazing insight, Amanda. I loved that
Oh,
so much. I look forward to continuing to hear your journey as a dance mom. It's super interesting. And thanks everyone for listening. We hope that that just made yourself reflect a little bit today.
can't wait to chat to you next week. Thanks, guys.
Bye.